been a while since we updated you on the latest in who's in, who's out, who wants to be in, who wants to be out of the ACC.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I think the ACC should have?
What's up?
And if you're younger than 24, you're not going to get this at all.
Okay.
And if you're older than 40, you're probably not going to get this at all.
Okay.
But if you're right in that sweet spot.
Very tight down. So millennials, got it.
The ACC should have a MySpace top 8.
Or top 5?
Top 8. It was top 8 on MySpace, right?
Okay. That was top 5, but that's fine. But same thing. We'll go with 8.
Either way, they should have to or I'll use a different example. We'll go Christian McCaffrey with it, which is actually the very same thing as I watched Iron Claw over the weekend.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's a solid movie. But when parents jokingly say, like, I rank my kids every day, Ed McCaffrey and his wife with Christian McCaffrey and Luke McCaffrey, who was just drafted, they got a herd of kids.
Mm-hmm.
They jokingly say, like, we rank our kids every single day, right? If you call mom, straight to the head of the list.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, they were telling the story that when I heard it, the Mrs. McCaffrey, Mama McCaffrey, was like, Luke just got a speeding ticket. He's all the way on the bottom.
Uh-oh.
So it's like it's a fluid deal. And in the Iron Claw, the guy says the same thing. The dad of the Von Erich wrestling family says, everybody knows Kerry's my favorite, Kevin's in second, but hey, it can change up any given time. And sure enough, it did throughout the movie. But the ACC at times has to be like, North Carolina is my favorite right now, because what is University of North Carolina, and more importantly, the state government of North Carolina doing? They are making it so UNC and NC State can't leave the ACC without getting approval by a committee in the state government, right? So the ACC has to love that. They want nothing but roadblocks on teams to leave. ACC or UNC may have jumped near the top of the list. As of today, probably at the bottom of the list. They probably just got the metaphorical speeding ticket. Dennis, I know you're staying up on some reporting done by Brian Murphy over at WRAL, sports investigative reporter, friend of the show. Give us the latest.
So, again, Brian Murphy has an article up on WRALSportsFan.com, the title that UNC trustees critical of Cunningham, referring to Bubba Cunningham, athletic director of UNC, and title also continues to say, to review athletic department amid budget concerns. So this is where the university, again, going through budget and things along those lines. But here's something that popped out to me in the article. Board of Trustee member Dave Boliak, hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, who's also a former chairman of the Board of Trustees, said after the meeting that there was an imbalance in the budget. And one of the things that was brought up was the lack of money that the ACC is receiving. This is what Boliak said, quote, Carolina's ability to maintain excellence at a high level is going to require really prudent budgeting and revenue models and potential cost cutting. A lot of it is due to the revenue or lack thereof of revenue that we're not receiving from the ACC deal. He went on to continue to say, it's not something you can chance when you with the snap of a finger. It's something we've got to be cognizant of. We can't sit back and cross our fingers and pray for pennies from heaven and thinking everything is going to work out. We have to actively pursue what's best interest of Carolina athletics. He went on to continue to say, when asked about leaving the conference, Boliak said, I'm advocating for that. That's what we need to do. We need to do everything we can to get there, or the alternative is the ACC is going to have to restructure itself. I think all options are on the table. So you have openly a Board of Trustee member saying, we got to look at leaving the ACC. Simple as that.
Here's the thing. You should look into it. And then you should look into the grant of rights and go, we can't. I've been talking about this for a while. NIL is going to make programs operate better as businesses. Athletic directors are going to become more business operators, more CEOs, because all the money that used to be flowing into the fundraising and boosters and everything that used to be flowing into the program now needs to flow to the players, rightfully so. But that, can you imagine not being able to make hundreds of millions of dollars a year on University of North Carolina athletics? That the colors, the Argyle, the gear, the merch, the shoes, the events,
just the name,
the licensing, the concessions, the off-season events. Can you imagine not being able to turn that into a wildly profitable business? You have to be better at, like, I've used this example in the past, but I've since NIL, I've seen more than a couple schools across the country, not locally, but across the country, suddenly they're willing to sell alcohol at games.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't for a century. Soon as somebody started taking all that fundraising money and giving it to players, they're like, you know what? A couple of beers before the third quarter for $13 each. Yeah, I think we could use that money for our program now.
With some licensing agreement with a local brewer that's sold in stores that you get a portion of. Yes, those things.
Yep. You're going to have to be better at running a business because you don't have, for lack of a better term, free labor anymore. You still do, kind of, but they're just taking a bite out of the same apple you're trying to take a bite of, so there's less there.
And one thing, I know we got to wrap up here, but I know one of the Board of Trustees, can't remember off the top of my head, did mention that regarding UNC athletics and then being in a bit of a deficit was the fact that they acknowledged this going in to COVID because they didn't cut any of their athletic teams. So they knew it was like, hey, we're gonna spend more than probably we're gonna bring in because we're not slashing scholarships, we're not slashing teams, we're not slashing number of athletes that we have. And UNC has one of the largest athletic departments in terms of teams in the entire country. So yeah, you're gonna have that. So I think you're like, well, we kind of knew this was coming.
And I respect that. I think that's a really cool move that they did. And classy. I don't fault them for that in the least.